for today is building an arts marketing mindset. So, actually, marketing is a taboo word in the arts. At least it was 4 or 5 years ago when we started ArtSpire. And today, I think people are talking about it, partly thanks to the pandemic, that digital and everything became, the buzzword. And marketing also kind of, it's not become a buzzword yet, but it is still, people are comfortable talking about it. And we ourselves have seen the initial conversations we have with potential clients and how it is moved from, and the clarity with what they want out of a company like ArtSpire. So, though it's a taboo word, but we need to speak about it, obviously, because marketing, always we think that, oh my God, I don't have the skill, I don't have the resources, but how do we actually move forward with it? Next slide. So these are some of the pain points that typically artists or arts organizations have. So I'm a full-time artist, I don't have the time for marketing. We know that. I run a performing arts institution. Will marketing, is it of any use? Well, that's a question we get asked a lot. Why should I market myself? My seniors have never done it. And why should I really do it? What is the use? Or I run an arts organization and I actually don't have the resources for marketing. So we just started to talk about marketing mindset, the first topic for the day. And so these are some of the challenges typically artists or arts organizations have. So how do we deal with it? And typically, to say the last point, I run an arts organization, I don't have the resources or the money or the, I can't hire. So that is definitely one of the biggest problems. So moving on, marketing mindset is not about actually hiring somebody or actually putting in resources. Here we are talking about how do you make the switch here? Because most often marketing, what happens is the artist or the person running the arts organization needs to decide and accept that, okay, I need marketing and I need to do it. So how do I make that switch here is what we are talking about here. And we are not talking about how much you need to invest or what is your ROI, but it's really that marketing is a mindset. So that every project you do, even if you're an individual artist, everything that you do, you're approaching it with, what do my audience think? What do they want? And I'm not saying that you have to change your creative process itself because you need to appeal to a certain audience, but to have that always at the back of your mind thinking, what do the audience want? What can I do to reach? What can I do to engage? Is really the marketing mindset. So today, both myself and Aishwarya will be talking about the marketing mindset from a point of how can, giving you some trigger questions, trigger points, that will actually help you think about the marketing mindset. We are not giving you solutions, but we are giving you triggers that will help you think, and how do I go about building that mindset. So there are two aspects to building the marketing mindset. There is an internal aspect and external aspect. The internal is, how do I understand myself better? By myself, I could be an artist, or I run an arts organization, or I'm a part of an arts organization. So that is the internal. The external is, of course, I engage with this whole audience ecosystem. So how do I understand that better? So unless we understand the internal and the external better, we will not be able to build that marketing mindset. So this is really, the entire presentation is going to be around it. And of course, in this entire mix, you have your artistic product or your artistic presentation, and that's the mix. So even if you don't take away anything from today, just remember this sort of, this infograph, so you can just keep thinking about it. Next slide. So I'm going to talk about understanding yourself. This is kind of a very intense, could be pretty intense, but we're not going to go very deep into it. But like I said, we're going to give you a lot of questions on what is going to, help us think about these points. So the first is to understand, what is our purpose and artistic mission, then our values, and then we go into understanding our strengths, etc. Next slide, we'll go deeper. So let's talk about the purpose. So as an artist or an organization, each of us have a purpose. We are here to do something. Most often we don't really think about it. We don't delve too much into it. And it's also a very difficult exercise to do for yourself. It's sometimes nice when you have a sounding board and you have a friend or a partner who you can discuss with. But this is fundamentally the most important thing for us to start. We may think that, I'm marketing my concert, I'm marketing something. Why do I need to understand myself? But this is really the starting point for anything that we want to do. So what do I want to achieve through my art or through my arts organization? So I'm giving you some questions here feel free to click or take notes, but these are some questions that help you to keep thinking about how do you want to understand yourself better. What impact do I want to create for our audience? What do we want to do for a larger community? So these are some questions you want to ask yourself, right? And we've just given an example here that says, let's say our music organization aims to provide all students with high quality music education that engages, inspires, etc. So that's just a sample vision. You can call it the mission statement, you can call it the artistic statement, anything. But the idea is it is a statement that's sort of a guiding post for all of us in the creative space, and we know where we're going towards. But the point is that we have to keep going back to these questions and keep asking ourselves, what do I want to do, and how do I want to create impact to the larger community? Next. The next is of course, very, very important, but probably we don't spend too much time thinking about values. We take them for granted. But in many of our client engagements we've had with either individual artists or arts organizations, we actually delve a lot in talking about values with our clients, because that drives a lot of the decisions we make about whether we need to say yes to a concert or not, do I want to work with a particular artist or not. So our values drive a lot of our decisions. So values, so how do you decide what are your values? We know we'll all say trust, integrity. These are, because easy ones to say. We all want to be honest and trustworthy, and integrity, all that is there. But how do you actually go about exploring yourself and what your values are? So one is to look at what are the core principles that actually guide you. How do you take your decisions, really? Then think about the best and the most difficult situations in your artistic journey. And what decisions did you take? And why did you take them? That's actually a very good indicator of why you did what you did, and hence your core, values are very clear. Who do I look up to? So let's say you always look up to a particular artist or somebody who runs an arts organization. I think it'll be good to think, why do you aspire to be like them, or why do you admire them actually? So if you actually drill down, it's probably some of their values, and that's why you really enjoy them, beyond their art, beyond their initiatives. It's really the value system that really appeals to you. So and most importantly, what do I don't want to do? That also drives you to help you to figure out what my value system is. That there are certain things that you don't want to do. For example, if you say, I don't want to do a free concert, for example, it could be a value that you want to stick to for your own reasons, and you could pick and choose, but that's a value and you stick by it. So values again are personal as well as they reflect in your work. So it's a very fine line between the actual person and the work, but it's important to understand what you stand for and how that translates into your artistic work as well. This is a very corporate terminology, SWOT, but we use this a lot at ArtSpire, and we love this exercise with all our clients. And it's as easy or as simple as it looks here, is to reflect on yourself to understand what are my organization's strengths, weakness, and how do I work on it better, and how do I actually understand myself better. So for example, what special abilities do you have as a person or as an artist? So these are also it's important that these strengths, again, we're talking it from a career artistic point of view, especially for individual artists. So, you don't want to get into strengths of you as a person. You can say, I'm a great cook, but that really doesn't help in your artistic career, I would guess. But let's say you can say that I'm great at networking. That's a great strength that will help you in your career. So, strengths that will also work for your career. So look at strengths that way, or if you're an organization, to look at what are we doing well and what are we not doing well. So those strengths and weaknesses will actually come out even for arts organizations. And what are opportunities and threats? So opportunities and threats are basically not about you as a person, but about you with the ecosystem. So for example, we can look at what emerging trends and skill sets are there, that I can take advantage of as an arts organization or as an artist. And with respect to threats, you can say, am I stagnating? Am I relevant? So what are the other organizations that are actually posing a threat? I know threat is a very strong word, but we're saying that because you need to also understand yourself as just as you as a person or an organization, but also you with respect to the ecosystem that you're operating in. So the SWOT analysis is really, it's fun also to do, actually, if you want to do it yourself for you as an artist or an arts organization. But it actually gives you a lot of things that you may be surprised about, but it really helps you also then to come out with, okay, so what is unique about what I'm offering? So as a result of this, which is something we won't go too deep into today's presentation, but the logical next step for this that we do work in our engagements with artists is, so then what is your USP, as they call it? And then how do I present myself? How do I market myself? So that is where the whole thing comes. So Mangalam, next slide. So the one last thing is understanding about yourself is goals, both short-term and long-term. Of course, short-term and long-term are subjective words. Pre-COVID, short-term used to be 2 years and long-term used to be 5-6 years. Today we say short-term is literally 3 or 6 months and long-term is 2 years, because beyond that, I don't think we're able to think and we don't know, the changes happening, etc. So we don't know what's happening. So better to keep the short-term pretty short, and because the space is also really dynamic, and long-term is probably 2 years. But what are your goals? So your purpose and the vision that we spoke about really drives your goals. And what does success look like? And what is holding me back now? So these are questions, again, like I said, and I'm just going to repeat a little bit for some of you who just came now, is that the objective of this presentation was also to give a lot of triggering questions and ideas that you can take back and work with. We are not giving any solutions or templates really, but we are talking about certain triggering pointers that you can take back and in understanding yourself better and building that marketing mindset. So goals, again, success is probably a subjective word, but each of us have an idea of success in our heads. So what does that look like? Hence, if that is success for me, if it means I need to, do this one grand world tour with my production, that could be success for you. So which means what do you need to do today to get there? So your goals are highly defined by your purpose and what success looks for you. What kind of artistic work drives me, hence, those become my goals. What inspiration can I take from others in the field who I admire? That's, I think, like I already said, it's always nice to look at peers, our seniors, and see what they've done and what, if you admire something particularly, it's good to delve a little deeper to see what you admire and then how much you can take from there. So goals, again, need to be very quantifiable. They cannot be just, you can't say, okay, I want to do a world tour of this production, but you want to say by 2024. So that's what I mean by quantifiable, is to really say that when do I want to do it, because we all do goals, we all write our goals, personal, professional, but where it slips is because we don't have definite timelines, or the quantitative part of the goals are always getting missed. So that is something that will really help you put this together. I'm going to do a very quick recap for all of you who just came here. We just started talking about building a marketing mindset. And I was saying that marketing mindset is something that needs to be slowly cultivated by each one of us who are working in the artistic space. It's not about marketing. It's not like, like I showed a slide where we were talking about dancers or musicians would say, I don't have the resources to do marketing. I don't have the skills. I don't know marketing. I don't come from an MBA background. It's really not about that. It's to build a mindset, which means that we need to think about marketing as an integral part of our artistic process also. And there are two aspects to building that mindset. There is an internal understanding, there's an external understanding. Next slide. So we showed this slide in the first. So the internal is, who am I as an artist, or who am I as an arts organization? What am I, what is my purpose? What am I doing? So that's internal. And the external is understanding my audience ecosystem. Is how do I understand my audience ecosystem, and how do I go about engaging with them, which is what Aishwarya will present next. But like I said, this is fairly simple. It's to keep thinking about how much do I know myself, how much do I know my audience. I think if we keep asking these questions to ourselves for every initiative or for every social media post that we put out, that would really help us to get into that mindset. And this going into that mindset doesn't require any kind of resources. It only just requires one switch here, but it also requires practice, to be honest. We need to keep thinking. And so this, I'm going to leave you here and invite Aishwarya to continue this presentation.
Thank you, Ramya, and welcome to all of you who just joined us. Welcome to this day. Thank you for celebrating with us. So if it was, say, 30, 40 years ago, understanding yourself was enough, I would say, okay, fine, pack your bags. We are done. But now we've gone into a much, much bigger space. I'm sure most of you have also recognized it during the pandemic and more, that understanding your audience better is as important as you define your own goals. Purely because our audience are not just our audience anymore. You're actually sharing space with your Netflix time. So hope you all are aware of that. So if you have to be better than an Emily in Paris, yes, we need to. If they have to binge watch you, we need to understand a lot more about what our audience want in itself. Yeah, so this is pretty much what I said. I'm sorry, just skip this slide. Yeah, now in our case where we deal with a lot of artists, we tell them that the marketing is more audience-centric out. So you first define who your audience are and you market accordingly. So that's pretty much done in 3 large steps. The first step is who they are, okay? It might sound fairly simple that I might say, okay, fine, today I'm a Carnatic musician or I'm a dancer. My audience are pretty much people who come to the sabhas, but it doesn't stop there. A larger demographics of people are something which we might at some point in times ignore. So understanding demographics is very important in terms of age, where they belong, wherever you're going to sing, you should know. Like I'm sure now artists are touring in like multiple cities which we've never even heard of, like in tier 2, tier 3 cities. So to understand that, what kind of audience are present there? Are those audience part of our list in terms of, say, in our Instagram or in our mailing list, or somehow we will need to reach out to them. So there the demographics plays a most important role in understanding and segmenting the demographics itself. It's said fairly simply, but when we sit and work out, a lot of artists who worked with us will know that we sit and work it out in terms of segments, and it's quite important to understand who they are. Next is what comes from your social media analytics. So most of you have your profiles out there, right? It's very important to understand who actually engages with you, right? So that will give you a social persona, a user persona of somebody who engages with you, which means that is the kind of audience your art is pretty much appealing to. So it's important that you also seek to find those kind of audience. Those are the audience who will engage with you in a longer run and who will always keep coming back to you wherever you put out, say, a physical concert or a digital concert. They will always follow you. So engaging, just understanding who is this person who's engaging with you on social media and who come to your space, who come to your concerts. I know we are all, as artists, busy performing itself, but I'm sure it's important to also just, observe as to what is the profile of people who come to your concerts. And the third is, sometimes we just think, okay, fine, I'll just go sing, perform, dance, and okay, those are my audience. But now the largest audience is this: organizers, festivals, peers and people who you work with. So what is the difference between the then and the now would be is that we have a lot of veteran artists here as well. The possibility to actually reach out to an organizer and be found was much, much, much higher than it is now. So we've been to a lot of meetings where the artist or the institution, they jokingly say that they see only social media. So it is a thing to actually be seen, not just contact somebody personally, but to be seen by these people is also, so they become a very important audience segment in itself. So they are not organizers anymore, they are your audience too. You need to speak to them, which means your content on social media or your emailers or whatever you put out there also speaks to them. It doesn't speak out to just general public. So yeah. The next you have to do to understand your audience is what are they looking for? Okay. Yes, we know we are an artist. There is my art which I want to put out there. But is it what which is appealing to an artist, appealing to an audience, and is that audience actually gonna retain and come back to us? That's what becomes the most important goal, right? So what are the artistic things that interest them? So I'm sure as an artist you gauge what kind of a response you get in terms of product and presentations, right? So when you actually put out something that appeals to the particular kind of audience, like how you've segmented in the earlier slide, you are actually preparing one set of captive audience who will always be around with you when you put out something new. So figuring that out, that's just a question I'm going to leave with you. And then behavior and culture. So I understand that artists don't just perform in prosceniums like before. There are artists who are performing at corporate shows or artists who are performing at, say, small chamber concerts, intimate concerts. So to actually understand if my performance works there, you have to understand the behavior and culture of people who are actually coming into your concert. Like understanding that helps us also, put us out there in the right space. Like for example, if you are coming up with, say, a production or something on mental health. So your target audience, as per the demographics, will be to go into, say, mental health professionals. There are these organizations who are constantly putting things out. Corporates who always want to use art as a possibility to help mental health. So these are the spaces you'll put yourself out to. So that is what is figuring out behavior, culture, and grouping the audience. And what are their interests outside of the art? It's good to know. I wouldn't say it's a need to know, but it's always good to know what are they watching outside of the art. That is, sometimes it might even help you place an ad on YouTube in that right place, right? If somebody who's interested in similar interests as much as you, as your art, you can put out an ad there and maybe you are capturing artists with similar behavior or similar thought process or similar age group itself. So, yeah, moving on. And how do we engage with them? I know it's a very tiring job, and that's why we are here in most cases, to engage with artists itself. So the first thing we do is to figure out what are the modes, okay? It's online and offline. So I wouldn't discount offline. The moment we say engagement, I know it strikes a chord with just engaging online. So we have to just think about how we engage with this artist in a audience in a continuous and relevant basis. What kind of messaging communication do we use to reach them? So again, people who worked with us will know that we have a communication matrix to say that this kind of, this demographic person has to be spoken to this way, so that it appeals to them. So this is what generically most of our corporates or whatever ads we do are doing, speaking to the right person so that they actually take the right action. So it's important as an artist to also possibly question as to who I want to talk to in what manner and what will appeal to them and what kind of a poster will maybe bring a lot of young people up to my concert. So that's something you'll need to think about. And who is their peer group and how are they influenced? I'm telling you, this word of